Okay, good afternoon, people. It's Friday afternoon now. I'm going to record this short video over Decker's chapters 25 and 26. I intended on doing this morning, didn't get it done, came down, recorded it this afternoon, went back to put the video together. I had no audio, so I called our IT guy and he said, "Oh, yeah, I took the microphone out of there for preaching and teaching. I haven't put it back yet." Well, it is once again here installed, and so let's run through what we've got. Chapter 25 is on adjectival participles. Last week we had one chapter on present adverbial participles, one chapter on aorist adverbial participles, and so we've got the adjectival participles, and then chapter 26 is on stative or traditional label, perfect participles, and also future participles. So let's get going on that. The good news on this is there are no new forms to learn. Adverbial participles, what we saw in chapters 23 and 24, act more like verbs. Adjectival participles, chapter 25, act more like adjectives. And so here is a key. Many times an adjectival participle will be articular. That is, there will be an article that goes with that. An articular participle must be adjectival. It cannot be adverbial. That does not mean that every adjectival participle always has an article, but if there's an article, it is adjectival. And when we're talking about adjectival participles, they might be adjectival in a pure sense, and they modify a noun like an adjective does. It might be substantival. You might have an adjectival articular participle without a connecting noun, and that participle actually will be working as if it were a noun. And so we see this example in section 25.3. This is from Matthew chapter 16. You are the Christ, and then we have an appositive there, the Son, and then we have four words. You can see they're bracketed under o ios, to theou, and then to theou is modified by an articular participle, to zontos. And so you're the Christ, the Son. Which Son? The Son of God, God's Son. And then it is further modified with that articular participle, the living God. So you are the Son of the living God. In this case, this is a second attributive position on that adjectival structure. Substantival examples, section 25.5, you can see that if there's no noun that accompanies the articular participle, then that participle actually is used as a noun. So in 1 John 2:4, you see olegon, that is the one who is saying, and actually that article, the o before the legon, also governs a second participle. I did not highlight that on this slide. The one saying, yada, 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 I know him, and does not keep. That does not keep is also a participle, teron, and so the article governs legon, the one saying, but the one not keeping is a liar. And then in Matthew 7, you see olegon modified by pas. Now, pas is a singular adjective. It means all or every, but semantic meaning of that could be in a collective sense. And so pas olegon is everyone who says. These are examples of substantival use of the participle. Then we've got the adjectival examples in section 25.6. You can see from Matthew 16, Simon Peter said, this was the same thing that was in the sentence diagram, you are the Christ, the Son of God, the living. I have taken the noun and I've made it kind of pink, and then our participle have made yellow, so the Son, the one living. And you can see that's listed as a second attributive position, whereas Acts 16, we've got the first attributive position. And so you say, sitting down, we spoke, la lumen, we spoke to the gathered women. I'm following Greek word order there. And you can see you've got the article, and then your modifier is the participle, thun elthousies, stuck in between there and women. And so the first attributive structure is article, modifier, noun. The second one is article, noun, article, modifier. Now, you should have seen that in your chapter on adjectives last semester. I think this is the first time I've actually spoken to you about that. Importance of case. Here we've got an example from Acts 3:26. God sent him, the first three words. God sent, actually the first four words because God is articular. God sent him, afton, accusative direct object of the verb sent. He sent whom? He sent him. And then we have a participle, which also is accusative. And so it's going to tell us something about the accusative thing in the sentence, the him. God sent him, evlogunta imas, who blesses us. So case is very important, as we've been reiterating all the way through, and so be careful about that. On to chapter 26. We won't take too much time because this is just forms. You can see the participle distribution there, imperfective and perfective and stative. Most of the participles in the New Testament and in the Septuagint will be either imperfective, that is present participles, or perfective, that is aorist participles. When we get to the statives and the future, very, very few, more stative, more perfect participles than future. There are only 13 examples of the future participle in the New Testament, 69 in the Septuagint. And so we're going to look at several pages of forms. This is on page 433 of your text, the perfect active participle of luo. And last week I was talking about learning the 6 forms. And so the 6 forms for this would be kos, quia, kos, kotos, quias, kotos, and that would be, as we saw last week, very common, a 3-1-3 pattern, in that the masculine and the neuter are third declension patterns, the feminine being a second declension pattern. Then we move to the perfect middle. Now, in the perfect tense, we've only got 2 set points as far as morphological markers of voice. We've got the active, and then we've got the middle passive. So this chart is labeled as perfect middle, perfect passive, and context will indicate to us whether or not the sense of the participle is kind of a middle voice sense or a perfect voice sense. And so you can see that much like we saw last week, in the middle we've got a 2-1-2 pattern, that is masculine and neuter are second declension pattern, whereas the feminine is a first declension. One of the things that would be helpful in this is that we've got the middle participle marker, men, and then as we saw in the perfect indicative, there's no connecting vowel. And so that can kind of help you identify those. Now, we've got the second perfect participles. We've got 2 verbs that are listed for us here. We've got ida, and we've got yinome. Of course, in BLC semester 2, yinome has an alternate spelling. But just as we saw in the second future and the second aorist passives, where you lose that theta, that is the form marker, here in the second perfect forms, you lose the kappa. And so the forms would be identical to that without the kappa. Future participles, only 13 examples in the New Testament. You can check section 26.15 for the paradigm charts. The future will have a sigma inserted there, or if we're talking about a future passive, you'll see a theta, eta, sigma inserted in the middle of the form. Other than that, they should be very, very easy for you to recognize. And so that's it for today. I look forward to seeing you on Thursday of next week. Blessings.